Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boschman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive podcast. Happy New Year. We are officially stepped into and shifted the energies into the energy of the 7 for 2023. And so I wanted to quickly take some time to go over the forecast for each personal year. And I'm going to break down what that is because I did release the forecast for each life path number for 2023. And this is a little bit different. And so I do want to kind of break it down for you, let you know what that is, and then look at each one individually, as well as how it relates to or may relate to the energies of the 7, which is the universal year cycle. Okay, I'm going to talk about what all that is. Before we get into this, I just want to mention, of course, this is a general forecast, a general reading. The best way to know what the energies are that you are personally working with is to have your own reading completed, right? To look at your own personal year ahead forecast. And so if you have not done that for 2023, I highly recommend it. I think it's going to be a useful tool. So you can book some time with me on my website. The information for that is in the description box below. Okay, so for the personal year, so basically the way it works in numerology is every number holds a vibration, right? And so there is like a energetic vibration that's associated with that number. And a lot of times these numbers show up in cycles. And when they show up in a cycle, that just simply means that we are working with the more condensed sort of signatures of that energy. And so the lessons, the triumphs will be all sort of associated in some way with those, the vibrations of that number, right? That specific number. And so, of course, we have the universal year cycle, which is collectively what we will all be sort of working with in some capacity throughout the year. So for 2023, collectively, the universal cycle that we will all be working with in some way is the 7, right? And so we will all see, especially on a global scale, like on the global stage, we will all see some more condensed energies of the 7 come through for us, right? And so it'll depend on each person individually, how that shows up for you and how you work with it. And your choices will indicate the experiences that you have and what you ultimately gain from the experiences type thing. But the universal 7 cycle this year is more, again, of like a collective energy. It's a collective cycle. So it will affect each of us in some way, but it's not as concentrated or sort of potent as the personal year. So the personal year cycle is something that's very significant for us individually, because it's derived from our own unique birth date, at least the month and the day that we were born. And I am going to put the calculations for how to come up with your personal year in the description box below. So make sure you check that out so you can calculate yours to see what you're working with. But this energy, this personal year cycle, we basically move through the cycles 1 through 9. Every 9 years, after we've completed that 9th cycle, we start over, and then we step into a 1 cycle, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and so on until, again, we move through the 9th cycle, and then again, it repeats itself. And we just do this continuously, of course, until we move on and transcend, right? So the personal year is very significant because, again, we only get that cycle once every 9 years. And so when those energies come in, they usually come in, again, in more of a concentrated way, because we're meant to gain the wisdom from those experiences throughout that cycle. And so when we're looking at, like personal year cycles or universal cycles, the personal year cycle is going to be the one that you are going to feel the most. It's going to be the most personal for you. And so it's very significant, right? And that's why I have readings dedicated to this, to your personal year ahead, personal year cycle ahead, and all of that. I even have it for your personal month ahead, because this can also show up daily, right? The energies we work with each day. And so the personal year cycle, again, is going to be the most concentrated. It's going to be the one that you are going to feel the most, and that is probably going to affect you the most. The universal cycle, right? The universal year cycle that we feel collectively is the additional layer to that, right? It's kind of like the overarching energy that we're, again, all going to sort of feel in some way, but how that affects us will vary, right? So what I wanted to do in this episode is to focus on each personal year cycle and how it may potentially correlate with the energies of the 7, right? Because remember, we are in a 7 universal cycle this year. So that's something we're all going to feel collectively. So I kind of wanted to give you an idea based on whatever your personal year cycle is, how that could correlate with this 7 energy that we're moving through in 2023. Now, I did put out the life path forecast for 2023. And what that is going to look at is basically, so you have the universal year cycle, which is the whole collective. Then you have the life path forecast, which I have up on my YouTube channel and my podcast. And that is looking at sort of the collective for each life path. So how these energies of the 7 could affect those with a life path 1 collectively, those with a life path 2, 3, 4, etc. So you can kind of think of it as like an umbrella. The top of the umbrella is the universal year cycle. Underneath that, directly underneath that umbrella, sort of like the air in between the umbrella and you, is the life path forecast, right? Like the life path cycle and how that correlates with the universal cycle. Then you have you, who's holding the umbrella, who will experience the personal year cycle the most potently, right? So it's kind of like an umbrella where we're feeling all these energies, we're working with all these energies, but they just have a little bit sort of layered of intensity, if that makes sense. Okay, so what I want to do is, like I said, I want to break down each individual personal year. And what I would suggest, of course, is doing the calculation to determine what personal year it is for you for 2023. And then you can skip ahead. I've got the timestamps below for that personal year, and you can see, how this might come in for you. Again, I would say the most accurate way to figure out what 2023 could mean for you is to have a personal reading. So of course, book some time with me if that's something that you're interested in. Otherwise, let's break it down. Okay, so if you have a personal year of 1, what this year will probably bring into focus for you is going to be a lot of new starts, taking a lot of initiative, taking a lot of action that stems from inspiration, intent, and originality. And originality is key with 1 energy because it is using your ingenuity to create some kind of solution for a problem that exists or something where a solution needs to be made, right? And so within your experience, right? Because this is a personal cycle. So, but it needs to be original. The 1 is going to ask you to be a little more selfish, right? To really take a closer look at what you want, what you need in order to thrive, to share your big ideas, to share your big inspirations, and to make your voice be heard, right? Not be afraid to stand up and stand out. 1 cycles can feel at times a little bit more isolating because a lot of times these big ideas, these new, initiations are at the forefront. And people may not always understand sort of this change in your behavior or, again, like you finding this burst of confidence or having these big ideas and taking them to the next level. And sometimes people need like seeing is believing type thing. And so with 1 energy, a lot of it is again, trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, trusting these big ideas, and then taking a risk and going for it. So in a one cycle, you are probably going to be pushed outside of your comfort zone quite a bit. Now, obviously you have free will, so you can say yes or no to these experiences. But usually when we're in a cycle, that feeling, that pressure can feel so intense that we're sort of pushed from our soul to do something with this energy, right? To learn what we're meant to learn throughout this cycle. So again, one energy is going to have you taking those risks, you sharing your voice, speaking up for what you need, standing up and standing out, and making big decisions that might feel uncomfortable and that you really need to trust yourself with. So yeah, when it comes to one energy, it's not that you're going to roll over other people and, step on people to get where you need to be. It's more about you recognizing your own value, your own worth, your own contributions, and really bringing that to the table and really stepping up in sort of a leadership capacity when it comes to the experience of your own life, your own journey, right? Like taking the reins and going after what it is that you want, even if that means taking big risks. Now, how that could sort of correlate with the 7 energy that we have universally is really this, it brings into focus this energy of like self-analysis, like self-reflection. So again, the focus is on one energy, which is self. And so really you have to understand yourself to some degree to know what it is that you want, to be able to take those big risks. So the one cycle may come in for you as, again, like really, especially under a 7 umbrella, as sort of concentrated on the area of your identity and figuring out who you are and what you want in this moment and, this year. And how do you get that? And how do you move towards that in a way that has integrity, but that also allows you to step into your own power and go after what it is that you want and believe in yourself through that process. Now, again, the 7 cycle can bring in this area of like achievement, right? It is the bridge between the metaphysical and the physical. It's bringing those big ideas to life into something tangible, into the manifest. And so it's actually really beautiful. The 1 and the 7 working together is incredibly beautiful. This also can bring to light, again, your more intuitive nature. So this is going to be key because you really need to follow your intuitive nature to create those big ideas, right? The ideas, the inspirations, the way that we know that they're meant for us is through that intuitive feeling, right? That deeper inner knowledge. Or inner wisdom. And so the 7 is actually assisting in opening those channels for you this year. So this is beautiful, beautiful energy. So for those of you who are moving through a 1 cycle, I would say follow your gut, follow your intuition, like really, truly trust it, even if you don't know how things are going to transpire. Because with 1 energy, it's about taking the risk. It's about stepping outside the comfort zone and letting the chips fall as they may and learning from where those chips fall, right? Like what worked, what didn't work, and move from there. So this is going to be, again, a year for you where you will have the opportunity to start new things, to take the initiative, to take the lead, to step up and to step out. So beautiful, beautiful energies. And then the fact that you've got the 7 that you're working with is setting you up for major success when it comes to, again, like you being seen and recognized and acknowledged because of your contribution, right? Because of your big ideas. But you have to have the confidence to be able to share them. And this 1 energy, this 1 cycle will assist you in doing that, right? And that can be sometimes where those challenges come in. So it can be uncomfortable, right? Like cycles are usually not the most comfortable until we move through them and we come out the other side and we can look back and be like, wow, I didn't know I was capable of that. But this 1 energy is really helping you to see what you are capable of and what you should be confident of, right? So beautiful, beautiful energies if you're moving through a 1 cycle for 2023. Personal year 2s. if you are moving through a personal cycle that is a 2, then what really is going to be coming into focus throughout the year for you will be associated with balance. It could even be around like relationships, right? And the whole spectrum of relationships. So how we relate to another outside of ourselves, right? And so the focus, and including the challenges, that sort of thing, will be, again, associated with how you find the balance in those relationships, how you find the harmony, cooperation. This can be a really big year for collaboration, like learning how to collaborate in a healthy way with others, like on a team or something like that, right? 2 energy, especially in a cycle, is going to focus on where it is that things are out of balance that need to come into balance. So again, specifically around relationships and how we relate to another. So if you're in some kind of like, say, leadership role, this year could help to focus your energy on how to work better with your subordinates, right? The people that report to you or that look up to you, that sort of thing. So it's leading alongside of others in your friendships, in your partnerships, any kind of partnerships, any kind of like interaction with others. There's going to be a call here to first be the observer, to see all sides of a situation, and then find the common ground to help find the harmony. And so really it's going to be like the challenges that you face this year will probably be associated with the areas where, if there's a space where you feel like you have to constantly be right, or constantly take the lead, or maybe you feel like you work better independently, and that could very well be the case. But as humans, we do have to relate with others, right? And so a 2 cycle is basically coming in to help us, again, in how to better relate with others. Relationships could come into focus, of course, like I said. So this could also be a year where you meet those sort of the people who are like in your soul group, right? The people who you have soul contracts with, friendships that could last for some time or have some kind of significant impact on your life. This is also a cycle for being decisive. That's another one with 2 cycles. So if you're somebody who has a really hard time making decisions, this energy, this cycle is really going to assist in sort of, I don't want to say like forcing, but like pushing you into circumstances where you don't have the time or the ability to sort of phone a friend type thing. You have to make a decision in the moment, and that decision is going to affect your experience in some way or create a change in some way. So there's some kind of significance to whatever that could be, but it's forcing you or pushing you outside of your comfort zone to really be decisive and to trust your decision making, right? There's also with 2 cycles where this can be sort of a more of a hypersensitive cycle where, again, like your emotions could be running wild. And so part of the challenge or the sort of goal of this cycle is to help you to get your emotions in check, not so you're suppressing or avoiding them, obviously, but so that you're working with them in a more healthy way, so that you're sort of channeling that charge in a much healthier way. And what's beautiful about this is with the 7 energy, right? Remember, we have that sort of overarching energy of the 7. The way that this 2 works so beautifully with the 7 is that the 7 really brings the focus into like holistic health, right? So like the body, the mind, the spirit. And so when we're talking about like hypersensitivity, especially, and the emotional charge of things, the 7 energy helps us to sort of focus our awareness into where it is that our emotions might be taking the lead, and where we can sort of step up and manage that energy in a much more healthy way, right? So that's beautiful energy when it correlates with the 7 in that way. 2 energy also is sort of bridging energy. So it's kind of, again, it brings people together. It finds the common ground. It finds the equilibrium and the balance within a situation. So 7 energy is the bridge between the metaphysical and the physical, taking the ideas from the unseen and translating them or manifesting them into the seen. So there's this also like this bridging component with the 7. So it could be this year that there is sort of like this bridging theme, whether it's bridging relationships, mending relationships, new relationships coming in that bring into focus areas or parts of yourself that you aren't or weren't previously aware of, that sort of thing. So incredibly beautiful energy, especially coupled with the 7. But really balance is going to be a key signature for you all this year, and finding your balance when it comes to your relationships, when it comes to how you relate to others, and when it comes to those areas within your life that are out of balance. Personal year 3, those of you who are moving through a personal year cycle in 2023, the energies that you're probably going to see surface the most throughout the year will be really around like socializing, communication, the written and the spoken word. This can be a beautiful year for like if you're a writer, again, if you're a speaker, something like that, or even if you're not, this could be the year where you step into that. But this is all about like, again, like it's a very social energy. It has to work with like, again, collaborations, working with other people in some capacity, some way, whether that's actually in the physical, or if it's you starting a YouTube channel and, broadening your reach. Or it could be, again, like you writing a book, getting that book published, that book goes out and touches people's lives. And then maybe you become a motivational speaker or have a podcast or something like that. Communication is really the key theme this year for you all. So again, it's going to be like, how you express yourself, because 3 energy is also very creative energy. It is the energy of creation. And so how you create or how you express your creativity this year is really going to be important. So be very mindful of that. Any big ideas, any big inspirations that come in for you this year will probably feel significant, especially because we have that overarching energy of the 7. 7 energy is bridging between the ethereal, the metaphysical, and the physical, and taking those big ideas and those inspirations and translating them or manifesting them into something tangible, into something physical. So for you all, this could be an incredibly creative year for you all. Again, pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to any intuitive hit that you get that feels significant, that ignites your passion, that feels like it needs to be expressed. So again, and that can be through art, again, that can be through writing, just writing, even if you say have an Instagram or a Facebook page and you feel called to share channeled messages that came through, or whatever, or to share your expertise in some way. That can come through beautifully as well. This can also be a year for travel, where you feel called to travel to different locations to learn about different cultures, to learn about the way other people live and how they express themselves, which could inspire you, and you may also inspire them through that journey as well. But this can be a really big year for travel. So if you get called to travel, you feel called to travel, whether it's for work or for personal pleasure, this is the year to do it. And take notes as you go through. And I think you're going to probably feel inspired to, again, like expand and broaden your mind and your wisdom and all of that. But taking that and creating something with it, right? Like sharing that in some way, sharing your experience in some way, again, whether that's through the written or the spoken word. So this can be an incredibly beautiful energy for also tapping into creative talents that maybe you weren't aware of. So you might, I don't know, take up a hobby of, painting or something like that, and then just realize like, wow, I'm very naturally gifted in this. I'm very talented as a painter. And so maybe you'll, start doing that more to express yourself creatively. When we think about, again, 3 energy, is that creative life force moving through us that wants to be expressed in some way. That doesn't mean that it has to equate to some kind of like monetary reward, right? It's not always about like producing for some kind of like gain, right? Sometimes it's just about creating because we want to move that energy. Like we want to express ourselves in a creative way. And the 3 energy is going to assist you in doing that. So this can be a very social year for you. You can see that your calendar books up quite a bit. You could meet people of significant value for your journey. This is a big year for collaboration. Even if you're more introverted, push yourself to kind of get out there and mingle and, again, network and get your name out there, get your work out there, get your, creativity out there, all of those things. This is big social energy. This is very big energy. 3 energy is a lot of times when we're in a 3 cycle, it can feel a little overwhelming because it's really kind of pushing us to step into the spotlight more, to share our gifts, to share our secret ingredients, because they're important. And so the 3 sort of gives us the gumption to be able to do it. And the confidence. So it's incredibly beautiful. And then again, you couple that with the energy of the 7. And this can just be such a big year for you all for, again, big ideas, things that are maybe a little bit different than what you're used to, outside your comfort zone. But it's going to push you to express yourself and to not shy away from that and to not dim your light to make other people feel comfortable in your presence. 3 energy is all about sharing their gifts, right? Sharing that energy. So beautiful, beautiful, big energy this year for you all. Now, again, it can be there, but it's what you do with it that makes the difference. So if you feel called to create something, if you feel called to explore something, I would say go for it. This is incredibly powerful, encouraging energy to do that, especially coupled with the 7. So beautiful energy for 2023 for you all. Personal year 4. If you are currently moving through a personal year of 4 for 2023, then don't be surprised if things seem to slow down. 4 energy is a very slow moving energy. It's very meticulous. It's very organized. It's very pays attention to the details. And so this can be challenging for people, especially people who like instant gratification. We typically do not see in a 4 cycle instant gratification. This is the energy that's going to sort of push you to persevere, to keep moving forward, to keep going after your dreams, your goals. But in doing so, to also focus on the details and to make sure that the foundation that you're building is one that is going to be sustainable, is one that you're not going to have to circle back around to make sure that, to fix whatever you kind of rushed through. This is very practical energy. It's very work focused, very dedicated energy, but it likes order. So again, it's like Saturnian. It's the taskmaster. It's going to make sure that things are done right and done right the first time. So again, it can feel when you're in a 4 cycle that you're constantly sort of hitting a wall. You're constantly sort of walking through mud, that you're not seeing the results. And that's usually when people will give up, when they don't see the results, right? But with 4 energy, it's very rare that you see the results quickly. And so what it's sort of pushing you to do is to find your patience, to be persistent, and to continue to move towards what it is that you want, towards your goals, even in the face of adversity, even when it's challenging, even when it's difficult, and to not give up too easily, especially if there's a spark, right? Especially if you still feel called towards whatever this is. With 4 energy, you typically will see the results, right? You will see the rewards of those efforts. And the rewards are always in direct proportion to the effort put forth when it comes to 4 energy. So it's up to you, sort of what you will reap from this experience, what you will reap from this cycle. It will be in direct proportion to the effort that you put forth, right? So this is going to be a period or a cycle where, again, things can come into the focus around home, around, again, the physical structure of the place where you live, or the actual physical body that is the home to your soul. So you could see things come up around your own physical foundation, right? That needs your attention, that needs perseverance, that needs some kind of to get cleared out or organized, right? So if there's like those self-defeating thoughts that you keep processing, like processed cheese, right? Like this is the time to clear those out, to work through them, to get your foundation solid. So you can kind of think of 4 energy as like temperance energy. This is a checkpoint. This is checking the foundation, making sure that what's solid you continue to build upon, what is not solid that you break down and rebuild, right? And a lot of times in a 4 cycle, the energy will do that for you. Like it will highlight the cracks and the crevices, and it will sort of dismantle those areas so that you're sort of forced to rebuild in a way that's much more sustainable and that's much healthier and that's much more aligned with the direction of your life, right? Your journey. So 4 energy can feel, again, it sort of feels like the taskmaster. It feels like that micromanager, the micromanaging boss that comes in and just like is really tedious. That can feel like this energy sometimes. So it can be a little bit frustrating at times, but you will at the end of the year be able to look back and be like, oh man, I'm so glad that fell away. I'm so glad that didn't work out. Or I'm so glad that I chose to build upon this area, right? Now, what I love about 4 energy being coupled with 7 energy is 7 energy has a very practical side to it. So again, it's going to assist in getting to the truth of something, right? Really diving down and making sure that what it is you're building has integrity and is truthful to you, like resonates for you. What I also love about the 4 and the 7 coming together is that 4 is actually very, very intuitive. It's highly intuitive. It's the 4th chakra, right? The heart center. And so there is this very intuitive, very ethereal side to the 4 that's sort of hidden beneath the surface. And so the 7 is the most psychically charged energy in numerology. It's also very intuitive. And so these two coming together bring the best of both worlds, right? Like they combine those beautiful energies of that intuitive, metaphysical, sort of more etherealness into a physical, tangible, practical substance, right? Manifestation. And so it's incredibly powerful, incredibly beautiful. So for you all moving through a 4 cycle in a 7 universal cycle, there is absolutely, not only are you meant to like look at your foundation and build from that, but you're absolutely meant to tap into your intuitive side, really get comfortable with your emotions, really get comfortable with, again, the more ethereal side of yourself, the more feeling side of yourself, and bring those big inspirations, big ideas into the world, right? Like to manifest them into something very tangible, something very practical. 4 is like a very, it's a building energy, right? It's a building and a teaching energy, and it wants to be the expert at something, right? It's going to get very focused. It's a very focused energy. So again, love it with the 7 energy because this is bringing in, again, just merging those energies of the more ethereal with the more physical to where you have the potential under these energies to create something so beautiful and powerful and helpful that, yeah, I would say definitely use this time wisely. But it's also going to show you, the 4 is also going to show you, again, where it is that things just aren't working out and are not meant to work out, and you're not meant to put your energy and your focus there. And so it probably would crumble away, right? But that's okay, because what you build, especially under this like 7 umbrella, can have such a prolonged impact in such a beneficial way. Yeah, so this can be a very powerful year for you all. As working through a 4 personal year with a 7 overarching energy, incredibly beautiful. And again, the 7 energy is going to bring in like the self-analysis, like that self-evaluation. So again, if it has to do with like your own physical body or how you are showing up in the world or what you are dedicating your energy towards, all of those things could come into focus this year for you to really evaluate and see, are you putting your energy where you want to be putting it to build whatever it is that you're building? And is what you're building what you actually want to be building type thing, right? So incredibly beautiful energies this year for you all. It can be, I'm not going to lie, 4 and 5 cycles can be incredibly challenging. But just keep in mind as you move through the energy that what you are building and the effort that you put forth will absolutely reap the rewards. Like, you will absolutely see the rewards of your efforts, and you will be so glad that you put in the effort, that you kept showing up, that you were persistent, that you didn't give up in the face of adversity or when the challenges surfaced. You will come out the other side of this very changed, very different, right? But stronger, and stronger in the sense of like feeling like the foundation that you have built is one that you can be really proud of, that you really feel good about, that feels very, very aligned. That is the power of the 4. It's incredibly, incredibly beautiful. So I hope it's a beautiful 2023 for you all. Take care. Personal year 5. So if you are currently moving through a personal year 5 for 2023, buckle up, baby. Okay, so I just moved out of a personal year 5, and it is everything that it says it's going to be. It is beautiful energy, though. It is beautiful, beautiful energy. And I happen to have a lot of 5s within my chart. You would think that would prepare you for a 5 cycle. It doesn't necessarily, because the 5 cycle is going to teach you, just with any cycle, it's going to teach you what you need to learn about that energy so that you can extract the wisdom. So I will say, in my experience, 5 cycles can be some of the more challenging if you're somebody who is a little bit more likes to have a little bit more control, or likes to kind of feel like you've got your footing type thing, which I think most humans do. Because 5 energy is going to bring the shifts. It's going to bring the change and the transformation. It's going to sort of force you to be adaptable. Almost like there's no other option. So really, when it comes to 5 energy, which is beautiful, like this is really going to be testing and teaching you how to be more resilient, how to be adaptable, how to sort of see the bigger picture as opposed to being just focused on the details, right? To kind of like bring it out a little bit and be the observer in a way, so that you can sort of get your bearings in the middle of this sort of hurricane, right? Now I'm making it sound kind of dramatic and scary, and it's not. It's just, it really is this energy and the cycle of shifts and change and transformation where there needs to be shifts and change and transformation. And sometimes that can be uncomfortable because a lot of times it's around the things that we have become very accustomed to, or sort of become more habitual, or it's become more mundane, right? More safe feeling type thing, or really in our comfort zone where we've started to sort of stagnate. This 5 energy is coming in to, just shift things up a little bit, right? To like move you in the direction that you need to be moved into, sort of give us that kick in the butt, right? To be like, yeah, you know that this needs to move, or you know this needs to change. And the 5 energy is coming in to help you to do that. So with 5 energy, I would 100% say expect the unexpected. And find your footing or I won't even say find your footing, just find the way to move with the energy to see where it wants to take you. The way that I sort of explain 5 energy, whether you have it in your chart or if it's through a cycle, is getting inside a boat, lifting up the oars, and just letting the current take you. That is 5 energy, because this energy is going to find a way to pick you up and move you to where it is that you need to be, right? Now, again, you have free will, you can make choices, but when it comes to 5 energy, the more that you fight this, the more that you fight the change, that you kind of push against this, that you try to claim control and won't give up control, this will be very uncomfortable energy. The more that you can release control, the more you can surrender and just be like, I'm putting it into the universe's hands, I'm putting it into God's hands, whatever, or my higher consciousness, my soul's hands to deal with. Like basically sort of like Jesus take the wheel type energy. The more that you can do that, the more comfortable this cycle will be, right? And the more that you can tell yourself what I'm moving through now, these changes, these transformations, these things falling away, these people falling away, or these new experiences coming in that I wasn't expecting, the more that you can sort of move with it and see what it's trying to show you and see where it's trying to take you, again, the more comfortable it'll be. But the more at the end of this year, the end of this cycle, you're going to look back and be like, wow, I am not the same person. And I'm so glad that this energy moved through me this way, right? So with this cycle, I would absolutely say, make sure that when you're facing some kind of shift, challenge, transformation, whatever, just remind yourself, I need to move with the energy. I need to be adaptable. I need to figure out a way to pick up the oar here and release control and just see where this is going to take me. Where is it leading me to? The things that you have control over, of course, stay at the helm. But those things where it's like the more you kind of try to force or you kind of try to push and you see them kind of pushing back, just surrender. Surrender to it and see what it's trying to show you, see where it's trying to take you. It will more than likely feel like a whirlwind. But again, where this storm is taking you, and it doesn't have to be a storm, right? But 5 energy is big energy and it's going to move you. It's going to find a way to move you where you need to be moved, right? And through whatever you need to be moved through, to help you find your freedom, to help you find your creative, voice, your interests, just open your mind, to open your heart, whatever the case may be. The 5 energy is coming in to do that and to do that in a really big way. And the key is to help you to be more adaptable, right? To see the levity within situations or find the levity within situations, to not take things so seriously, to find your joy through the trials and the tribulations and the adversity. And then, like I said, the more you can do that, the more you can surrender to this energy, the more comfortable this experience will be. And the more that you'll be able to look back at the end of the year and be like, wow, I can't believe all those changes that happened and that I moved through all of that. And like, wow, look at the person that I am right now, right? And all the wisdom that you've extracted. So not going to lie, 5 energy is big energy. And it can be challenging because it brings change. And a lot of times the areas that it brings change into are the areas that we've sort of got snuggled up under this nice warm blanket and don't really want to change, right? So that's where the uncomfortableness comes in. So 5 energy is forcing us to get comfortable within the uncomfortableness. And you will be amazed at who you will become through this cycle. It is powerful. It is very, very powerful. I speak from experience, recent experience. Now, what I want to mention is 5 energy sort of coupled with that of the 7 can be interesting because it's kind of like the 7 is more about like self-analysis, finding your truth or finding the truth of the matter. It's the bridge between the more metaphysical and the physical. So it's really dabbling in the more unseen and then finding ways to sort of manifest from the unseen to the seen type thing. So it's a very like spiritual, very psychic, very practical energy. What is very similar about these 2 energies is that they're both very much, it depends, right? Like the 7 can fall into extremes, right? It can be way into the more ethereal, or it can be way more practical where it loses a side of itself. 5 energy can also be really extreme. Somebody that's moving through a 5 cycle can fall more into being like living in excess, like living beyond their means, or they can be overly restricted, or self-confined type thing, right? And so the key with the 7 and the 5 is to find your balance, right? To be that bridge between both sides of yourself, right? Or both energies or both polarities. And then to find a way to sort of integrate that and work with that. And the 5 is going to sort of force you to be adaptable and to figure that out as you move through it, right? And the 7 is sort of introducing, again, like the more metaphysical, the more psychic, the more intuitive side of yourself with the more practical and the more truth-seeking and the more investigative, right? So this can be a really interesting year for you all, especially working with the overarching energy of the 7. I think for people who sort of have signed up to have a 5 personal year under an overarching 7 universal year are really going to be finding or want to find out more about themselves that they wouldn't necessarily find out about themselves because they would be too stuck in their ways if they didn't move through these cycles, right? So it's like this has the potential to be a very eye-opening year for people who are moving through a 5 cycle under a 7 universal cycle. Because again, it's going to give you an opportunity to move to places you probably wouldn't move. And I'm talking more metaphorically, like energetically, to move to spaces, to experience things that you wouldn't experience if you weren't moving through these cycles. So I do think that this has the potential to be extremely eye-opening about self, right? Like about like your boundaries, what you want, what your truth is, what you want to get out of your current experience. Do you want to change your experience? What does that look like? Do you want to make different choices? Or have you become too sort of mundane, I guess, like too set in your ways, too rigid? Do you need more freedom? Do you need more independence? Have you lost yourself in relationships? Whatever the case may be, right? Show up in different ways. But the 7, again, is that more investigative and like getting to the truth of it, right? And the 5 sort of shows us our truth, whether we want to see it or not, right? Through the change and the transformation. So this has the potential to be just an incredibly eye-opening experience for you all in a beautiful way. Like I said, I think at the end of the year, you can look back and just be like, holy guacamole, I didn't know that about myself. I'm glad I experienced this because I'm just like really stepping into my power at this point. But I would say definitely when you're working with these 2 big energies, balance and finding your sort of equilibrium through the chaos, because 5 can be a little chaotic of energy, finding your balance and moving in ways of moderation will really assist you. But really adaptability is going to be key here, and being open to whatever these energies want to show you. Big year ahead for you all, but powerful, really, really incredibly powerful. Like I said, I think at the end of the year, you're going to look back and be like, I don't even recognize parts of myself anymore, but in a good way, right? Just really stepping into your power, but in a really beautiful, beautiful way. So best of luck to you. And I think this is going to be a really transformative year for you all, but powerful, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Again, it's what you do with the energy, but I think that, this has the potential to be really great. So take advantage of it. Personal year 6s. So if you are currently moving through a 6 personal cycle for 2023, then what you can kind of expect is that the focus will be shifted to the home, to family, to your very close relationships. This is the vibration of unconditional love. This is the vibration of nurturing, not only nurturing others, but nurturing self. This could be a year where if you are, whether you're looking or you're not looking, you meet a lifelong partner or a significant partner who will play a very significant role in your life. Now, it doesn't have to be romantic, although that is very likely for those where the cards align. That is very likely under a 6 cycle. It doesn't have to be romantic, though. It can be like meeting like people from your soul group, like the people who are going to be very close to your heart and sort of you will share more intimate experiences with. So friends, long lost family members. You could have children at this time, like give birth or conceive or anything along those lines. It can also be like you getting more involved in your immediate community. And again, just sort of like getting your name out there, but where people feel sort of more drawn to you, sort of networking, but again, more like the people that you feel closest to. So if you're getting more involved in your community, it's going to be with people that you feel like have like similar values and are like-minded and that sort of thing, where you feel a connection to these people through whether it's through your work or through your volunteer, your contributions or whatever. But these are going to be people that you feel a sort of soul connection with. Again, like family can come into the forefront. So changes within the home are very, very likely or very possible under this energy. So you could make actual changes to the home, like remodeling or something like that. You could buy or sell and move locations. You could, again, like move home. This can also bring into the forefront like marriages or divorces or a change in your status in some way. So like if you were married and now you're divorced and single, or you are single and now you meet like a very significant partner, that's very possible. And now your status changes and you come into a relationship. Again, building your family, having children, your children moving out, or family members moving in. That's always possible under 6 energy as well. So again, think of like the home environment and any potential changes that could surface under this energy. Also under a 6 cycle, things that need to come to light will more than likely come to light under this energy. So if there's things that you've been sweeping under the rug, they will more than likely come to the surface to be dealt with. And that can change the circumstances, right? So if there's something that you've been trying to avoid having a conversation about with a loved one, and you have that conversation, that can lead to changes within the environment that affect your home. So that's very, very possible under this. But just know that whatever those changes are in the best interest of all involved, because again, 6 is the vibration of unconditional love. So it's going to sort of sift out whatever it is that's coming in between you and a healthy relationship with love, with connectivity, with whatever that may be. So again, the people who enter are meant to and will have some kind of significant value. You could also see people resurface at this time that maybe the timing was off or the connection wasn't right in the past, but now it's right under this vibration. That is very possible. You may also see people seem to kind of need your assistance more. They come to you more. They're sort of drawn to you at this time. You may be kind of asked to, again, like assist with other people's problems, like help with solutions, that sort of thing. And I would say like a big energy with this is going to be setting healthy boundaries and holding those healthy boundaries, because you can be in service but also be in service to yourself to make sure that, again, you're not overextending or overburdening yourself. It's very easy with 6 energy to self-sacrifice and to overburden yourself. So make sure that what you're saying yes to is what you want to say yes to, what feels aligned, and what you're saying no to is because you don't have that capacity to say yes to it, right? Or it doesn't feel aligned, or you're not willing to overburden yourself or sort of stretch yourself too thin, because that, of course, will lead to resentment. Finances, as they affect the home, could also come into play under a 6 energy, so or a 6 cycle. So you may start working from the home, or things may change around the finances that affect the home. So you or a partner, or maybe one of your children start working and they start contributing towards the finances of the home, or whatever the case may be. That's also possible. And then health around family, pets, loved ones could come into the forefront, but that could also be, again, like solutions to whatever that is, or having conversations about those health concerns and taking it to like a doctor or whatever, and having that, or seeing a therapist or something like that. Maybe if you're in a relationship with somebody and you go to couples counseling or something like that, that's also possible. How this sort of correlates with the energy of the 7, I'm really drawn to, because 6 is such a like very intuitive, emotional sort of, just like a deep feeling energy. And that of the 7 is very connected, like spiritually, psychically, intuitively. And so it's very possible that with that 7 and that 6 energy combined, there could be a lot that comes in sort of through the more feminine energies. So like that receptivity, that, so I would say pay attention to your dreams. Absolutely. Pay attention to the feelings that you have around a situation. So if you walk, like, let's just say like reading the room, right? If you walk into a room and the vibe feels off, trust your vibe. If you meet somebody and the vibe feels off, trust the vibe. Or, I mean, I would say that anyway, but especially with 6 and 7 energies, for you all, really pay attention to what you feel this year. Like, how you feel about something, even if somebody's telling you something different, right? The truth is going to be found through the way that you feel, like truly feel, not overthinking it in the mind, but really truly feel from like your gut, from your heart center. This 7 energy this year is really going to help you to tune into that and to trust it and to follow it, to make your decisions, right? And to, in what you take action towards. So it's really incredibly beautiful in that sense. And also getting to the truth of the matter through the way you feel about something, even if it scares you. This energy is really going to help you to do that. And so you may also be called this year to face a lot of fears. It's very possible that you'll have to sort of overcome that. And part of that is to trust yourself, trust others, and to trust the unseen, which comes through that 7 energy. So very beautiful energy for you all potentially this year. I hope it's a great year for y'all. Take care. Personal year 7. If you are going through a 7 personal cycle in 2023, during a 7 universal cycle, this is going to be a very potent year for you all. Now, if you're a 7 life path going through a personal 7 cycle in a 7 universal year, you might just start floating. You might just go out into outer space. This is going to be potentially a very, very powerful year for you all. But if you're not a life path 7 and you're simply moving through this 7 personal cycle in a universal 7 cycle, this is still going to be an intense year for you all, but in a really potentially powerful, beautiful way. So I've talked a lot about the 7 energy because I'm actually pretty excited about it for 2023. Because obviously I work within the metaphysical sciences, and having a 7 cycle, especially a universal cycle, sort of pushes the collective to acknowledge and sort of see the value in the more metaphysical side of things, right? Like, so in being a psychic, in like numerology, astrology, divination tools, whatever the case may be, it sort of brings that to the forefront, right? Brings that awareness to the collective eye. Now, whether they accept it or not is another story, but 7 energy is, in numerology, the most psychically charged energy. Now, we all have access to that, of course, but the 7 energy is sort of like an open channel to that. It is the bridge between the metaphysical and the physical. And so, yeah, generally speaking, I'm just excited for the 7 cycle because, again, what it could potentially do or start the ball rolling for bringing these more metaphysical aids and tools and sciences back into like center stage, because these tools help to empower people, to bring the knowledge and the wisdom back to the people. So it's incredibly powerful. So I'm excited for that. Now, as a 7 personal cycle, the way that this could kind of show up for you is a variety of ways. Because again, like the 7 is the bridge between the metaphysical and the physical. So 7 energy is going to take the inspiration, take the ideas from the unseen and manifest them, create them into something tangible, into something very physical, within the physical reality, right? So it's bring the bridge and the channel between the unseen to create something within the seen. So how this can show up, again, is like a variety of ways, depending on how depending on where you're at in your own journey, right? Because the cycle is going to highlight what it is that you need to learn from the cycle, and for your own journey, right? So 7 energy can bring in this energy of like self-analysis. So this could be a year for you where you're sort of more in solitude, where it's more about self-reflection, more about like self-soothing, self-healing. Again, like really getting to know yourself on a deeper level. 7 energy sort of requires time for solitude, that freedom to be able to go off on their own and explore their inner self, right? There's a lot going on under the surface with 7 energy. And so the 7 is sort of required to constantly tap in and touch base with that side of themselves, right? So for you all moving through a 7 personal cycle, this could be a year for that self-reflection, to kind of really get to know yourself better. And I know that sounds sort of very woo and like cliche, but really, like, the 7 energy is going to sort of force you inwards a lot of the time to, again, check in with yourself and make sure that where you're moving, the path that you are on, is the path that you want to be on, the path that is the one that serves you, not necessarily the path that is the most comfortable, but the path that is the most serving for what it is that you want to accomplish and be in this lifetime, right? And what you want to do, that sort of thing. So it is an opportunity for that self-reflection and self-analysis. And so you may find that if you're somebody who sort of needs that in this cycle, you may see that the more social aspects fall away, or people who maybe you were spending a lot of time with sort of get caught up in their own lives and don't necessarily have the time to spend with you. And so again, sort of pushing you into that more solitude, right? To really get comfortable with your own solitude and to get comfortable with the silence and yourself and your inner thoughts. And do you like your inner thoughts? Do you like, the company that you keep when that company is just you? So it can be a period, again, of like that more solitude, more sort of like self-reflection. It doesn't have to be. Again, this is like if that is what you need throughout this cycle, right? If you're somebody who's sort of already done that work, then you probably won't see that come through. This can also be a cycle where achievements start to come through, like more physical, like you start to see those ideas, those inspirations, whatever it is that you've taken from the ethereal and now manifested, that you see those achievements come to light. So I would think of something like if you're like an author, right? Like, and you had the big ideas and you wrote a book, then this would be a great year to have it published and it would be successful, right? This is something, again, you've put in the effort, you've achieved whatever this is, you've manifested whatever this is, you've put in the effort. And so now that's coming to fruition. So anything like that, any kind of like where you're taking your ideas, channeling them into something physical, you can see achievement come in around this cycle. The body could come into focus. So again, like holistic health is a big focus with 7 energy. So again, holistically speaking, so body, mind, spirit. So if there's anywhere that you feel disconnected from self, holistically, that's going to come into focus more than likely in this cycle. So if you're feeling spiritually disconnected, then you may see things come in for you, whether it's people or challenges or opportunities to get reconnected to whatever, to your higher consciousness, to God, to the universe, whatever you subscribe to. Same thing with like physical health. If there's some area within your physical body that you have been neglecting, then this energy will sort of shine a light on it, whether that's through like an actual physical manifestation, like an ailment or something like that, for you to pause and pay attention to whatever this is and take care of it. So this would be a year, again, where you would want to make sure that you investigate, look into whatever comes up in for you, holistically speaking, when it comes to your health. This can be a year where if you put those big questions out to the universe, you're going to get big answers. But again, it's going to take you being like reflective and like, going within and like really connecting to the spiritual side of yourself, to the higher consciousness, right? To your higher self, to that energy that is swirling about within. So pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to the big ideas that come through, not even like the big ideas, but the downloads, the intuitive hits, the psychic hits that come in for you. Pay attention to that and learn to trust whatever that is, because a lot of times, especially with 7 energy, it's more of a feeling a lot of times, right? Like there's a very practical, knowledgeable, logical side to the 7. But there's also just equally a very like ethereal side of the 7. So again, that more psychic, more unseen, more feeling side. And so with 7 energy, we're meant to merge that. But I would say, again, those big answers to those big questions that you have about your own life will more than likely be coming through the unseen. So this is going to be a year to connect to that side of yourself, to get really comfortable with it and to trust it. 7 energy, a big piece of this puzzle for a 7, or again, like going through 7 cycles, is around trust, like trusting self, trusting the unseen, trusting others. So there could be a lot that comes in under this cycle around trust, your relationship to trust. Do you trust yourself and to make proper decisions for your journey? Do you trust others? Do you trust the unseen? So you could see things come up around trust this year to help you to get more comfortable with that, right? To see where it is that you don't trust and why is that, and get to the root of that, right? So this has the potential to just be a very eye-opening sort of year for you all. A very, potentially a very psychic year. You could tap into gifts that maybe you've been fighting, maybe you've been sort of explaining away. You could, again, this could be a very intuitive year for you as well. And so I would say follow whatever comes in for you. Now, again, if you're somebody who is more, let's say that you're somebody who is more on the intuitive side anyway, but you really haven't integrated that side of yourself into the more physical, logical side of yourself, like in your body. Like, let's say you spend most of your time in the clouds. This year is going to probably present to you opportunities to be very present, to be very in your body, and find ways to do that so that you can sort of be that bridge, right? You can honor both sides of yourself. Or if you're somebody who's more practical, more logical, more like grounded, like really heavy in your body, this could be a year where you really get in touch with the more intuitive, psychic, ethereal, metaphysical side of yourself and honor that side of yourself. And you'll be surprised at the gifts that open up for you and the messages that come through. Like I said, this can be a year for you all moving through a 7 cycle in a 7 year, universal year, where you get some big answers to those big questions. So a tremendous amount of clarity can come through for you this year. The key is for you to trust and follow it, though. That's the thing, right? It's like the energy can be present. It's what you do with it that's going to make the difference. So, if you continue to sort of explain away what the universe is trying to show you, and you don't sort of explore it or trust it or honor it and move with it, you might not get the same out of this year as others will. So I would say definitely be open to what comes in for you, even if it doesn't make sense. Because I would say with 7 energy, so much of it is sort of the sort of processing. And I don't want to say like thinking, although there is a big thinking component with 7 energy, a lot to do with like the balancing between, or the bridge between the mind and the soul, right? Like the ego and the soul, and finding the healthy balance between the two. And trusting and all of that. So this can be a very like a spiritually evolving year for you potentially. Or again, if you're somebody who's more ethereal, then it can be something that's like where you find your ways to get more grounded, to find your roots, to learn to trust yourself and be present and all of those things. This will be an interesting year. And so especially somebody who's got such concentrated 7 energy, this can be a pivotal year for you. This can be a very pivotal year for you where, again, you learn about yourself in a way that maybe you've been seeking clarity or confirmation on, and that can come through in a really big way for you this year. And I will also put this out there, with having such strong 7 energy, sort of such strong cycles that are 7 energy, like concentrated 7 energy, you may find that you're sort of at the forefront for bringing some of these metaphysical tools, bringing some of the unseen awareness into the public more, right? Like bringing it into other people's awareness, if that makes sense, right? So it's kind of like there's the potential for a very strong shift here when it comes to trusting ourselves, trusting our intuition, trusting the unseen. Let's put it that way. And not getting away from knowledge, but learning to find the balance and working with it, right? Integrating all of it. So yeah, those of you who have sort of been blessed with having a 7 cycle and a 7 universal year, you may feel called to be a part of that movement. So, or at least initiate it in some way. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, very powerful energies this year. I'm really excited for it. And I'm really excited for you all to be working with such strong 7 energy. So, all right, take care, everyone. Bye for now. Personal year 8. If you are currently moving through a personal year 8 in 2023, then this is for you. So with this energy, you could see things come to light or come into the focus for you now around career, business, finances, your resources. This can be a time where you see a change in status. You get a promotion, you get a change in your job title, you start your own business, you leave, working for someone to become the entrepreneur. You could become the head of a household. There's a lot that kind of comes in when it comes to like status and your place in the world, so to speak. You could also see things come in around like power struggles. So there could be challenges where you have to decide, like choose your battles, right? Like how can you find sort of the equilibrium? How can you sort of level the playing field when it comes to power struggles, right? So that you're sort of de-escalating situations instead of sort of escalating them or contributing towards the escalation of it. How much does it mean to you to be in a powerful position? And if you are in a powerful position, how do you use that power? Is there integrity behind it? Or do you lead alongside of others, or do you sort of dictate to others? So there could be a lot that kind of comes in around how you use your own power and you're stepping into your own power and all of those things. So if you're someone who constantly gives your power away, you could see experiences come in for you this cycle that sort of encourages you or pushes you to take a leadership role, to honor your voice, to use your voice, to speak up for what you need, to take the risk, and to, not sort of minimize who you are, but on the flip side of that, like again, step into your power, know your worth, go after what you want, take those risks. 8 energy is always going to sort of force us to take the risk, even if there's a loss associated with it, because in that loss, there's some kind of wisdom to be gained, right? And you can rebuild using that wisdom to create something bigger and better, right? Something that's more aligned, something that actually works or works better. So there can be potentially a lot of gains with 8 cycles and potentially a lot of losses. But when it comes to an 8 cycle, you have to understand that any loss is truly a gain. Any obstacle is truly an opportunity. Now, it sounds cliche, but that is really 8 energy. 8 energy is associated with the strength card in tarot because, again, it's like it takes a tremendous amount of strength to sort of build something and then have it sort of fall away and then rebuild and then like learn from those, taking that risk and having something fall away and then figuring out how to work with what's left standing and what you want to build from that and all of that. So, in a cycle, it might not be as intense, but in a year cycle, it can be. So just be aware of that. Anything that sort of falls away at this time or anything that feels like a trial and a tribulation, there's absolutely a golden nugget associated with that you're meant to extract from the experience. So pay attention, right? Try to stay aware as you're moving through whatever the obstacle is. There's also a potential for increased responsibilities. So it's very possible that you may get a promotion at this time, or again, start your own business, or come into added resources or something like that, which in turn creates the requirement for added responsibility and added dedication of time and that sort of thing. And so it's also going to be important for you to continue to find your balance between like home life and work life, making sure that you're not overexerting yourself towards some kind of goal, right? That you're finding your healthy equilibrium. That's going to be really important as well. Another key component with this 8 cycle is going to be about integrity. So again, you might have like these big ideas come in, like these big visions, especially with the 7 overarching energy. You may get these big downloads and want to create something within the physical from those downloads, which is beautiful because again, that's very much 7 energy. But the key with the 8 is going to be, or being in an 8 cycle, is going to make sure that everything that you say yes to, everything that you put your energy behind and your resources and your name behind, that there's integrity there, right? That you feel good about the intention behind it, that you feel good about what you're putting out there. That's going to be really, really key with this cycle. And the challenges that you sort of face that come up during this cycle are going to help to highlight where it is that maybe you're pursuing something that maybe is not in your best interest or not in the best interest of others and could actually create some kind of harm. So you may see some stronger challenges come up around that to shift your perspective, to like kind of change your direction a little bit, and to ask yourself, what's the reason behind me pursuing this? What's the reason behind me doing this? And is there integrity behind it? Does it match my values, right? But money could come into the forefront now, gain of money, loss of money. But remember, any kind of loss, any kind of thing, anything that sort of falls away is helping you to build bigger and better. So again, it's like if you see like money's just going through your fingertips, then this 8 cycle is helping you to better manage your money and find ways to better manage your money, or change the way that you earn money, or whatever the case may be, right? But yeah, just think of any time a challenge comes in, especially around 8 energy, it's kind of forcing you to look at what's not working so that you can create an environment that does work. And 8 kind of gives you the motivation and the power to do that, right? And 8 energy is going to ask you to take risks, like constantly be taking risks, and trust your intuition when it comes to that. Now, what's beautiful about the 8 and the 7 working together, so you've got the 8 cycle that you're in, the 8 personal cycle, but the 7 overarching. What's beautiful about this is 7 is very spiritual, like intuitive energy. And there's a very strong signature to the 8 that is very spiritual, because the 8 needs to be connected to the unseen so that when things do crumble, it doesn't completely lose faith. Like it doesn't completely give up on itself or whatever it's working towards. It has the strength to rebuild. It has the strength to get up, dust itself off, and keep going. And so the 7 sort of intensifies that connection, that deeper channel to the unseen, to your higher consciousness, to your soul, whatever the case may be, to God, to the universe, whatever, to know that it's like a partnership and you're not alone in whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, that there is a method to the madness type thing. So the 7 sort of brings in that more, it's got a very practical side to it, the 7 energy does. So it very much could assist in creating whatever it is that you're trying to manifest within the physical with that 8 energy. But there's a very strong spiritual component to the 7. And so it's very possible that you'll sort of see that or feel that during this cycle to assist you to not give up, right? To find your strength, to persevere, to overcome any challenges. And then, like I said, sort of extract the wisdom from those challenges so that you can build something beautiful. Under 8 energy is also like the circulation and sort of, like the circulation of your resources. So let's say that you come into a large abundance. Sort of the integrity behind the 8 is to circulate that abundance so that everybody sort of gets a piece of it and benefits from it. And what you put out there will return to you type thing. So the 8 sort of assists you in figuring that out and what that looks like for you, and learning to, if you come into a lot of abundance, not hoard it, but to share it, right? So very powerful energy when you're working with 8 energy. It very much is over the physical domain. And so again, money, resources, power, status, any of those things. But the key with this 8 cycle is to keep coming back to your integrity, making sure that your intention behind what it is that you're doing and you're putting your energy into is good, right? So I hope it's a beautiful 2023 for you all. Enjoy the 8 cycle. Personal year 9. If you are currently moving through a personal year 9 in 2023, then this is for you. And so the 9 energy, oh my goodness, the 9 energy coupled with that of the 7, because remember we have the 7 universal cycle. And then if you're moving through a 9 personal year, this has the potential to be such a spiritually moving year for you all, like where the connectivity, just the connection to your soul, to a higher consciousness, just to that more unseen side of yourself, the potentiality for that is just astronomical, which is incredibly beautiful. Even if you're somebody who's already very connected in that way, this will just strengthen these energies combined will just sort of strengthen that, or you have the opportunity to sort of strengthen that in a beautiful way. So 9 energy in a cycle is going to ask us to be more giving to others, right? Like to show up for others in a non-judgmental, very compassionate way. That does not mean that you become a doormat. That does not mean that you self-sacrifice or that you don't, uphold your healthy boundaries. But it does mean that you consciously make an effort to take others' needs into consideration and be very compassionate and non-judgmental through that process. So you may find that you are sort of given opportunities this year to, again, like volunteer your time or step into philanthropy or take on roles that maybe you wouldn't normally take on, but that are much more like setting your sort of more egocentric needs aside. And there's nothing wrong with, being a little more selfish, right? We need to do that so that we can accomplish the goals we need to accomplish and all of that. But with 9 energy, it is that energy of the humanitarian. So it very much is going to potentially ask that you show up in much more forgiving, much more compassionate, much more understanding ways this year. And where that would come in would be if there are situations where maybe you could have brought more compassion, or you could have been more understanding, or you could have been more present, or held space for this person or these people or whatever. So it's only really going to show up when it's in a cycle if there's something for you to learn there, right? If there's something for you to take away from it. So if you're already, in that mode, then you probably won't see that come in such a sort of concentrated way for you. But it is possible if you can be more compassionate, if you can be more giving, less judgmental, more understanding, whatever, you may see that come in. It may also come in as the urge to do more volunteer work, to sort of give of your time and resources in a bigger way. That is also very possible at this time. You can also see it in a cycle where, again, you just become more connected spiritually to your soul, to your higher consciousness, to that deeper side of yourself, right? That's like, again, more the feeling side of yourself as opposed to the knowledge, the logic, the physical side, the ego side. So it's very possible that you could have experiences with people who open your eyes to different perspectives around your beliefs, around, just the more sort of metaphysical or spiritual side of things. And really it's like this energy helps to connect or reconnect you to your higher consciousness, to your higher self, right? To your soul. This can be a year really where it feels like your soul is in the driver's seat. And the ego sort of has to take a back seat type thing. And where you fight that because the ego doesn't like to give up control. And so where you fight that, you could see some challenges surface there. So where you might be showing up in ways that are more judgmental or less compassionate, you could see some struggles or some challenges surface in those areas to bring it to light to say, this is where we need a shift. So just be aware of that. This can also be a time for endings where things come to completion. This is typically time where you've put in the work, you've been doing, you've sort of planted the seeds, you've nurtured the seedlings and allowed the fruit to grow, and now it's harvest time type thing. So this can be a time for completions for again, sort of things being tied up with a nice bow. And yeah, just things coming to completion. So that could mean that things fall away, right? Like soul contracts, people that no longer sort of serve a higher purpose in your journey could fall away. Again, if those soul contracts have been completed or those karmic ties or whatever, you could see those people fall away. And so part of the 9 cycle is to find compassion in that falling away so that it can be done through love and not through resentment or anger or whatever. Of course, grieving if need be, and honoring that process, but moving beyond any resentment if it is a relationship or something like that needs to fall away. Let's see, what else do I want to say about the 9? This may feel like a slower, more contemplative, not even really the contemplative, because it's really going to be more about service, being in service to others and others' needs and showing up for others and holding space for others, after you've filled your own cup, that sort of thing. But it can feel like a slower year where there's not a whole lot of shifts, but it's more like you finding ways to contribute to the collective in a way that feels really good and inspiring for you. But also, it can be a time for receptivity. It's a very feminine energy. And so again, it can be where you've done a lot of the work and now you're letting things kind of come to you, where you're not forcing anything, you're not starting anything big. This isn't necessarily a cycle where I would say there's big new starts here. That would come next year. So this year is really about tying up those loose ends, finding where you can be more in service, finding your opportunities for forgiveness and releasing. Remember, we talked about endings, releasing that energy, finding ways to do that in a healthy way, that sort of thing. So just, with 9 energy, it's going to feel more ethereal. It's going to feel more spiritual. It's going to feel more, again, like the call is to be in service, to help others, not at your depletion, but in a way that feels healthy and good for you. So beautiful, beautiful energy coming through. Now, when you couple that with the 7, like I said, this is 7 energy can be very psychic, very intuitive, very spiritual. It can also be very physical, very practical, very getting to the truth of the matter, that sort of thing. But it's the bridge between those two things. So it's really taking those more metaphysical, spiritual ideas and translating and transmuting and manifesting them into something physical. So you may sort of feel that push because you're under the 7 umbrella to do something new, to create something new or something like that from ideas that come through for you, because with that 7 and that 9 energy, those channels are wide open to the ethereal, right? I mean, they always are, but it's kind of like the blockages are removed. And so you could get some major downloads at this time. So you may want to start things, but I would say because you're working with a 9 cycle, find ways to channel that energy that are selfless, that help others, that help to empower others, to uplift others, that sort of thing. So that would really be the question I would be asking myself this year in a 9 cycle is what I want to start, is what I want to initiate, is it for something bigger than me? Is it for, to help others in some way? Not to say that you can't reap the benefits from that. You absolutely can. But I would say the focus needs to be more on the others, it being in service, as opposed to what can I get out of this? How does this serve me? It's like shifting the focus a little bit. So, but it does have the potential. You could have some big spiritual experiences at this time and really connect to your higher self in a very profound way, that could potentially change the direction of your life, that could change how you're showing up to your experiences. It could completely change your experiences. So it has the potential to be incredibly powerful in that way. Now, you are basically creating space in this cycle for next year, which will be a 1 year for you. And that is where you will have big, self-initiated starts, right? Like self-driven starts, right? So then the focus sort of shifts a little bit from the all to the I. But this year, like I said, you're kind of creating space. You're more in receptive mode. You're more like looking at how can I serve, as opposed to how can I be served. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful energy. But just know it can feel a little bit more slow moving. And there can be some releasing this year as well to create space for the coming year. But anyway, beautiful, beautiful energies in 2023 for you all. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.